It's mailbag time here on the Raiders Report, and all these questions are from our October 24th show on Thursday Night Football. If you're not subscribed, then you're not alive. You got to tune into our Thursday night shows. These are the shows where I get to know you. Y'all get to know Jeremy Chugs and I. Quite frankly, they're the most fun that I have all week, and I hope that you guys tune in because every person amongst Raider Nation, I think we all need a little bit of a good time, a little bit of a smile on our face, and we're going to bring it on Thursday night every single week. Sir Chai, what's up, my man? Jeremy, is it time to move on from Jakobi Meyers? It's not time to move on from Jakobi. I could see the Raiders potentially shopping him if they got a really good deal. I know AP, I know this organization loves Meyers. They love what he brings to the table when he's healthy. This ankle injury right now is really bothering him. He was able to practice on Wednesday, but then he was unable to practice on Thursday. I don't know if he's going to be ready to go or not, but the one thing that a lot of receivers do, a lot of receivers bring headache. A lot of receivers bring that diva energy. Jakobi Meyers is the exact opposite of that, and I know that the Raiders want to figure out a way to be able to keep this guy here on this team. Let's go to my guy, Chance-tastic. Trade Jack Jones for a 5th or 6th. He's been a liability for multiple weeks. I hear you loud and clear, but there's not going to be an NFL team out there that gives you a 5th. I don't even know if a team gives you a 6th, and the reason why that I say that is because Jack Jones, everywhere he's played that hasn't been with Antonio Pierce, he's been, really bad and a locker room headache. I know the way that we view Jones maybe is a little bit higher because of the way he played last season, but he does need to step it up a little bit. He needs to be able to bring that physicality because he's right now, I'll say it, and I would say it to Jack Jones' face, even if that guy could kick my ass. I don't give a shit. He's the softest player on the Raiders defense right now. That's a cold, hard fact. Let's go to TJ Parkinson. It's a rivalry game. It better be exciting to watch. I want Maxx to drill Pat. I mean, Maxx Crosby's got 4 sacks in his last 4 games against the Kansas City Chiefs, and I want the Raiders to bring the rivalry action energy as well. I'm going to be in Vegas this weekend. I'm going to be there October 26th, so hopefully I run into some people around the nation. Caden, I think Ritter balls out. Bowers and him will connect. I know that Bowers is going to ball out. I don't think Desmond Ritter is probably going to play in this game. From a starting standpoint, I do think he plays. Let me rephrase that. I do think we see Desmond Ritter this week, but that's because I think Gardner Minshew is going to play bad. I just think that this has got to be one of those games where even if Ritter just comes in and is a decoy, shit, let's do it. What do we have to lose? Matthias, would you rather have Milroe or Shedeur right now, especially since Milroe has cooled down a bit? I mean, I'll tell you this. I'd probably rather have Shedeur Sanders, and I only say that because I look at accuracy. If you told me, Mitch, what would you bet on more from a quarterback standpoint? Is somebody who's more of a runner and it's not developing as a passer, or a quarterback that is very accurate that shows glimpses that he can be an athlete? I'm going to take that realm, and that's what the realm Shedeur Sanders is in. Also, his relationship with Tom Brady cannot go unnoticed. Also, on top of that, Maxx Crosby this week literally endorsed Shedeur and said that that would be one of the quarterbacks that Maxx would like to be able to bring to the Raiders. Let's go to Brad Simmons. You're next up here. Is there a quarterback any Raiders players told you they want the team to draft next season? Yes, but I can't reveal all those names to the to y'all because I told the player that I would not do that. So I'll say this. I know Maxx Crosby the other day on his podcast gave 2 quarterback names. He gave 2 QB names, and I'm going to tell you who those 2 quarterbacks were that Maxx Crosby, he didn't say, I want the Raiders to draft these guys, but the question was asked, who are 2 quarterbacks you kind of got your eye on? I'll tell you who those 2 quarterbacks are here in just a second after this YouTube ad break, but I want to know from the nation, which rookie quarterback fits the best with the Raiders? Maybe that's not the one that's the most talented. Maybe it's not the one that can handle it because, we talked about last year, I flat out said, I don't think Bo Nix has the mental strength to be able to deal with Raider Nation. We bring the energy. Some people say we bring the boom. Which rookie quarterback fits the best with the Raiders? Let me know down below after this YouTube ad break. I'm going to tell you which 2 quarterbacks Maxx Crosby wants on this team. The 2 QBs that Madd Maxx wants, Shedeur Sanders, and then Cam Ward. He said that himself on his podcast. If you don't believe me, you can go check it out. But I think Maxx also knows like what the next step is for this organization. And it's being able to find that franchise QB. Do you want a guy that's cool, calm, and collected like Cam Ward that doesn't say a lot? You can go that route. Or do you want the kind of the exact opposite in Shedeur Sanders that's not afraid to speak his mind, that's not afraid to talk? And I've been having a lot of people say, Mitch, you don't like Shedeur because he's Deion's kid, blah, blah, blah. It's not that I don't dislike Shedeur. I'm always a guy where I want the young player, and if it's a QB, you got to be a leader of your team. And the team takes on the identity of your leader. I am more worried about Shedeur's leadership ability compared to Cam Ward. But I will admit there hasn't been a quarterback that has impressed me more this year in college football outside of Rourke from Indiana, more than Shedeur Sanders from where I was earlier the year to where I am now. I'll say this. I always knew Cam Ward was going to be this good. Let's go to Jerry Danley. Brock Bowers is the best tight end in the league right now. I'm sure for years to come, not sure if Kelce has lost a step. Kelce has lost a step. Like Kelce right now kind of reminds me of like a little bit more of an athletic Jason Witten where he's moving slow. He's still finding ways to get open. But when you take the talent of Mahomes, the offensive-minded coach of Andy Reid, and you pair that with a savvy guy like Kelce, he's still going to be able to find ways to get open. But the way that I know that Kelce has lost a step is his red zone success. Kelce, in years past, you could always tell he was fast, but his strength was like sneaky strength, where it was like you didn't realize how strong he was until he hit you or until he ran you. It's like when you watch Brock Bowers play, again, he looks like a guy that can do your taxes, but like when he hits you and he does all this stuff, you're like, holy shit, that guy is incredible. If Brock Bowers looked like Darren Waller, and I'm just being honest, if Brock Bowers looked like Darren Waller, people would be like, this guy's the best tight end in the NFL. And it kind of goes for Kelce as well. Kelce has lost a step, and it's very clear in the red zone because he's just not as physical. He's just not as strong as what he was in years past. If you're looking for Raiders coverage every single day, 365, hell, 366 this year. Hit that subscribe button. We got you covered. I'm the type of Raider fan. When Josh McDaniels got fired, we went live for 26 straight hours. You want commitment to excellence? That's my buy-in right there. I'm going to bring it. If you're not ready to bring it every day, don't subscribe. If you're a Raiders fan that's going to show up every day, that's going to have my back, that's going to have the nation's back, then that's why you should show up. If not, I don't want you here, man. Let's go to Nate. My wife is a Browns fan, and she thinks Myles Garrett is better than Crosby. Tell her why Crosby is better than him. Raider Nation lives in Ohio, too. I'll say from an athletic standpoint, Maxx, nowhere close to Myles Garrett. Sorry to break it to you. And if there's one player that I would consider taking over Maxx Crosby, it would be Myles Garrett. However, though, the reason why I'm going to go with Maxx over Myles is because there's not been a player that's been better in the running game at the defensive end position than Maxx Crosby. He leads the league in tackles for loss. He's also been the number one highest graded PFF run defender at the defensive end position back-to-back seasons. Nobody plays more snaps than Maxx Crosby. Nobody's had more pressures than Maxx Crosby since 2021. Madd Maxx is a leader. Madd Maxx is the face of a franchise where Myles is a little bit more quiet, and that's fine. I'm telling you this, Maxx is a Raider. And Maxx Crosby and Myles, both hell of a player, but I'm going to go with Madd Maxx. Let's go to Young Money. QB1 Sanders, RB1 Najee, wide receivers Higgins, Myers, Tucker, Hardman. Bowers' 2025 lineup would be fire. I do not want Najee Harris. I think Najee's having a great year, and I'm actually happy for Najee because that was a running back that I never thought was going to be able to make it work in the NFL, but he looks motivated this season. He looks much faster. He looks like the visions, like his cuts, like Najee Harris this season compared to what we've seen every other year from him. He almost looks like two totally different running backs, but like if I'm the Raiders here, I don't need a Najee Harris. The thing that you're missing, this is a good fantasy lineup, Young Money. And maybe, we got to spend a little bit more money, but we need offensive line because we have this offensive line with all these players do not matter. We got to build the offensive line. You got to be able to win in the trenches. Also, you got to be able to win on Prize Picks. Get $50 when you play $5. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Make sure that you use code CLNS. Easy, exciting, daily fantasy sports made easy. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use code CLNS. to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best place to get real money sports action with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings. Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. You pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. So if you're wondering, all right, Mitch, talk to me about the Raiders game this week. Alexander Mattison, more or less on a rush or receiving touchdown. For me personally, this could be an interesting one. You could also look at Brock Bowers. You could also look at Trey Tucker. You could look at Gardner Minshew. If you look at this right now, Daniel Carlson, 2 field goals is one. The reason why that I like to do Prize Picks right now, and I mean this, I'm looking at the eyes of every Raiders fan. If you're a Raiders fan and you go, I just want to be able to watch the Raiders and have something to root for, then play Prize Picks. Because if you have something to root for, you're going to watch the game, you're going to enjoy the game, and win, lose, or tie, you're going to have a good time. And I know, you're not always going to win. I'm going to be real. You're not always going to win. But if you put in a Prize Picks lineup every week, you will watch the Raiders and you will have something to root for, which quite frankly is all I can ask for right now on Sundays. I can't expect the Raiders to win. You can't expect the Raiders to win. But if I put in a Prize Picks lineup, I know for a fact I am going to be super invested in that game no matter what. So to all the Raider fans out there, Prize Picks right now has been saving me, and I think it's going to be able to save you too. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Make sure that you use code CLNS. Get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Let's go to my man here, Carter Harlow. I know there are more important positions to fill, but what are your thoughts on our secondary? Epps is going to hit free agency. Trevon Merrick, I would try to bring back and re-sign. I'll be real with you, though. Based off people that I've talked to, I don't know if Merrick wants to come back. Nate Hobbs is a player that will be back on this team based on people that I talked to. Jack Jones is still a little bit up in the air. Jacorian Bennett, I like him a lot. Don't look now. Jacorian Bennett leads the NFL right now in pass breakups. And this might be an unpopular opinion for some because Jacorian needs to get better in the tackling game. But in pure coverage, Jacorian Bennett might be a top 20 corner right now. Like, that's how good he's been, and there are plenty of metrics that back up that stat. I like our young talent a lot. I think Isaiah Palomalo is a good player, definitely doing some of the right things. But we got to be able to figure out a way to keep either Nate Hobbs, Trevon Merrick. I would like to be able to keep both of them. Let's go to my man here. Nah, man. I think our DBs need to be aware of Hopkins. That dude has shit ton to prove. I suspect at least 15 targets to him, provided he is playing. He is going to be playing. 15 targets is just not going to happen. The Chiefs aren't a team that typically does that. Andy Reid's typically not a guy that does that. They spread the ball out pretty freaking well. I'm going to say DeAndre Hopkins this week's going to see 7 targets. I want to see who the Raiders put on him to match up because Bennett doesn't really match up great with them. Jack Jones doesn't really match up great with them. We need somebody that can kind of match that physicality. And even like Nate Hobbs, I don't really think matches up great with him. It is a matchup that I am concerned about. However, though, the way that I would handle DeAndre Hopkins is, if this is me, okay, I'm going to put Jacorian Bennett on him for the first 10 yards because Jacorian's good enough to be able to hang with him for the first 10 yards. After that, I want to see Trevon Merrick help over the top because Merrick has that physicality and he can bring that a little bit. I'll also say, this might be a sleeper, Isaiah Palomalo on DeAndre Hopkins because that's probably the only player in our secondary that can match his physicality plus the athletic ability. Palomalo's not as good in terms of covering him from a route. Hopkins is going to eat him alive from routes, but for jump balls, which I think you're going to see a lot because of the limited practice time, that's where Palomalo would do a lot better job. Let's go to the black hole. Will Thayer Munford start this week? I don't think so. He's been healthy, but they've been playing DJ Glaze, and quite frankly, if I'm the Raiders, I want to see a lot of these young players play more, and it sucks to say that I don't believe the Raiders can win. But let's also, in these games, evaluate talent and look forward to next season where I want to see DJ Glaze play right tackle. If I'm the Raiders, I would shop Colton Miller this year because, let's face it, he wants a brand new contract. The Raiders aren't going to give him one. So I think next season it's going to be a little bit complicated anyway for Miller. where, if I'm Thayer Munford, I go, hey, man, like, put me on the left side. Let's see what we can do. Because if you're Las Vegas, you got to already plan for the future. DJ Glaze, though, he's going to start at right tackle. And quite frankly, he deserves to start at right tackle. Let's go to none of your business. Hopefully, Ritter turns out better than our other two quarterbacks. Imagine just how better Bowers' numbers could get with someone who can score touchdowns. I hear you loud and clear. I will also say that I think because our quarterback play is so limited and because our offensive line is so bad, that does, in a sense, benefit Bowers because of the short intermediate routes compared to some of the receivers that are going down the field a little bit more. And tight ends have always been safety blankets. They've always been like the check down option in any offense. Like you've always heard, young quarterback needs a tight end to be a little bit of that check down safety blanket. But, like, I hear you loud and clear. I'll also say that you can't put all the blame on Aiden. You can't put all the blame on Gardner Minshew. And don't get me wrong, I'm not a believer in Gardner. I'm not a believer in Aiden as being a starting caliber quarterback in the NFL. But there's also has something to say where I think Aiden was better last season with Josh McDaniels, Bo Hardigree, and Mick Lombardi. This is the worst I've ever seen Gardner Minshew play. Luke Getsy deserves some blame. Antonio Pierce, the head coach, he deserves some blame as well. This offensive staff deserves some blame for how bad this offense has played. It's not just on those two guys right there. Let's go to Jerry Raider. That's a hell of a name. Should the Raiders try to trade for Cooper Kupp? Should you try? No. Like, if the only teams that are trying to trade for Cooper Kupp are teams that are buy now teams, like teams that are in win now mode. Would Cooper Kupp make the Raiders better? Of course he would. Of course he would. But why, if you're the Raiders, a team that's right now as it stands 2-5, a team that, let's face it, not going to win anything this season, why am I going to trade for a 31-year-old receiver who's had tons and tons of injury concerns? Like, if the Rams will trade Cooper Kupp. I really do believe it. They will trade Cooper Kupp. It's just not going to be to the Raiders. Let's go to Chad. Fields for Myers straight up. Steelers literally laugh in your face. And I think the problem with a lot of Raiders fans are, and this is where I need people at times, people get so mad at me in my trades that I make up because they're not Raider friendly, but they're realistic, right? And I do this, if I ever show you a trade, it's based off of what I actually think that the market value price is. If you wanted to trade Myers to the Pittsburgh Steelers for Justin Fields, they want a 4th-round pick on top of that. And they want a 4th-round pick on top of that because of the whole Justin Fields thing, where he's got to play 51% of the snaps for the Steelers to get a 4th-round pick. If they trade him away, they just get a 6th-round pick. So if you're Pittsburgh, you're going, all right, sure, Jacoby, which, by the way, Jacoby I think would be a phenomenal fit with the Pittsburgh Steelers. But Jacoby straight up for Justin Fields, it's just not even close. It's like, hey, I drive right now a Lexus, and you drive... I don't drive a Lexus, though. I'm saying, all right, I drive an Audi. I don't even have a car. It's Alex's car. I pay for Alex to have an Audi. She's driving an Audi, and you're driving a Hyundai. You probably want the Audi. Maybe. What do you drive, Hyundai? Kia? All right, Kia or an Audi? I am going to blast you like that. Will the Raiders make another trade this season? And there's nothing wrong with that. Honestly, I wish... I'm not going to put myself in the doghouse. Will the Raiders make another trade this season? At least not in a cut. I wish Alex drove a Kia. Let's just say that. Yes or no down below. Will the Raiders make another trade this season? I think they will. I think it's going to be multiple trades. Let's go to Nate May. Will Dcaman and Richardson replace Jack Jones? Not now. If you're the Raiders, you roll with Jack. You continuously see what you have in him because, I want the Raiders to try to bring back Jack Jones next offseason, and I want him to be a part of this team. I want the Jack Jones that we saw last year, the motivated guy who's one of the best corners in the NFL. I do think Dcaman's going to get his time, and you're going to see some flashes of it. And if the Raiders do get really, really bad, if I'm Las Vegas, then you got to honestly look yourself in the face if you're AP, and you got to go, if I have any shot of being the head coach next season, I need to be able to evaluate the talent that I have on this team to the best of my ability. And even though Jack Jones is a better player than Dcaman and Richardson, you still need to be able to see that player see it through. So I will say, if the Raiders get to a point, and I would say it's probably around week 15, week 16, and if they only win no games, then watch for them to start putting some more faith in some of those rookies just to see what they got. So one more time here, if you guys don't already know, we're going to be live on Sunday. Raiders, Chiefs action. It's going to be one hell of a time. We're going to be going live, I'm going to say 3 p.m. Eastern time for this game. We're going live a little bit earlier than what we typically do for a game day because it's Chiefs week. Whether you think the Raiders are going to win, whether you think the Raiders are going to lose, whether you think the Raiders are going to tie, you better show up because the nation always shows up.